ויהי המבול 40 יום על הארץ, וירבו המים, וישאו את התיבה, ותרה מעל הארץ. And there was a flood on the land for 40 days. The waters increased and raised the ark so that it rose above the earth. Vayhi miketz 40 yom, and then after 40 days, the Torah says, Vayiftach Noach et chalon hateva asher asa, and Noah opened the window of the ark that he had created. Vayishalach et ha'orev, and he sent out the raven. Vayetze yatzo vashov, and the raven went out, going back and forth. Ad yavoshet hamayim me'al haaretz, until the waters had dried up. Vayishalach et hayonah me'ito, and then Noah sent out a dove from him to see. To see lirot hakalu hamayim me'al pnei ha'adat, to see if the waters had receded from the land. V'lo matzah hayonah manoach lechaf ragla. And the Yonah, the dove, did not find a place to rest her feet. Vatoshav elav el hateva, and she came back to Noah's ark. Ki mayim al pnei ha'kol haaretz, and because there was water everywhere. Vayishlach yado vayikachea, and Noah stretched out his arm to take the dove. Vayaveh ota elav el hateva, and brought it back into the ark. Vayachel od Shivat yamim achirim, and Noah waited 7 more days. Vayosef shalach et Yonah, and again tried to send out the dove from the ark. Vatavo elav hayonah le'et erev, and this time the dove came back le'et erev, towards evening. V'hinei alei zayit haraf b'fia, and behold, there was a branch, a plucked off olive leaf. Vayeda Noach ki kalu hamayim me'al haaretz, and he knew then that the water had indeed receded. Vayachel od shivat yamim achirim, and Noah went another 7 days waiting. Vayishalach et hayonah, and now this time he sent out the dove. V'lo yasfa'o shuv elav od, and she did not come back. This week's Torah portion presents us with a very curious story and a curious choice. As the floodwaters are receding and it's time to test if the world is ready for renewal, Noach doesn't begin with the gentle dove of peace. Instead, he sends out the raven, a bird known long before Edgar Allan Poe as a particularly resilient and yet dark creature who in many traditions brought with it ominous omens. It's an unexpected decision from Noach. If Noach wanted to find hope, wouldn't the dove be the better choice? And yet our sages teach, Chazal teach us, that the Orev, the raven, has a crucial lesson for each and every one of us. A message about endurance in times of darkness and uncertainty. The raven reminds us, say Chazal, that when life gets dark and feels dark, we are to channel resilience. And that when we see a glimmer of peace, we are to follow hope. The Talmud in Sanhedrin interprets the raven circling as a symbol of our own resistance to change, our attachment to familiar patterns, even when they keep us bound in darkness. In its grit and in its survival, the raven represents a kind of resilience that sometimes can be resilience and resistance to change, but in other moments, a persistence and a strength that keeps returning, enduring even when the way forward is murky. In those moments when we can't yet see what lies ahead, the raven that circled and circled but did not find a place for its own feet to land reminds us to keep showing up even when clarity and peace are far off, and that setbacks don't end our journey, that every challenge for us can become a call to find a way to keep going. So that then, when Noach sends out the dove, an entirely different journey begins. According to Rashi, when the dove returns with an olive leaf, it becomes a humble yet undeniable sign of life, peace, and the possibility of something new emerging. Rashi emphasizes that it's just a teeny leaf, not a whole branch or a tree. He teaches us that we are to find small signs of hope. Even something as small as an olive leaf can give us hope. The dove reminds us to cherish these small moments of peace and promise, trusting that even the modest beginnings can lead to more remarkable and immodest blessings. The raven's endurance and tenacity show us the importance of resilience, of staying connected to what grounds us even in the most challenging moments. We see this raven-like resilience in countless ways. A parent who tirelessly cares for a child with special needs, finding the strength each day to face unique challenges. A person facing recovery from an illness or an addiction who returns over and over again in spite of no dry land to land on. Resilience is often not glamorous. It's gritty and it's repetitive, and it requires us to confront the unknown, often without any answers. Like the raven circling a world not yet ready for hope, sometimes our journey requires simply not giving up, remembering that we have been charged to find something even when it seems that we won't, continuing to circle back to what matters and waiting for the world around us to change or for clarity within us to emerge. We are reminded in this story that we need the raven and the dove. We also experience the need for resilience, not only in our private lives, but in our public and communal lives. Think together now of the ongoing work of justice, equality, and peace. Work that for so many generations has felt like an endless circling of the raven as we confront the same social and systemic challenges time and time again. We march for justice, we petition for change, we endure setbacks, and yet the calling remains to keep circling back, as the raven does, to the vision of a better world, even when we can't see it fully realized. This kind of resilience means we keep showing up, we keep canvassing even after elections are over, anchored in our values even when the change we long for at times seems impossibly close and yet impossibly far away. Noah's choice to send out the dove speaks to a different dimension of our spiritual journey. The dove doesn't have the raven's endurance for darkness, but brings a gentler, quieter strength, the strength of hope and renewal. It's as if Noach is teaching us that resilience alone isn't enough. We also need hope to guide us towards possibility. When the dove returns with an olive leaf, that small green sprout reminds us that new life is waiting, even if it's still just a small hidden leaf or a seed. The power of the dove lies in its willingness to seek out life, to find peace, even in small signs. That olive leaf that becomes the universal symbol of peace also is a reminder to be patient and to have faith. Sometimes the signs that we need are small. A conversation that leaves us feeling heard, a glimpse of green after a harsh winter, a single voice calling for peace amid discord. Today, as I was scooting through Central Park early in the morning, I saw this huge truck, very truck-looking people in the truck. Just this big, it was almost like a monstrosity in the middle of Central Park. I kept thinking to myself as I was walking my scooter, what is this thing doing here at 7:30 in the morning? And I saw the guys, right, walking over to the guy who just backed up this big truck. And from like 20 feet away, one big guy said, "A good morning to you." And the other guy, jumping out of the cabin of the truck, jumped down onto the ground and said, "I was just about to give you the same greeting. Good morning to you." Small leaves everywhere. The remarkable moment of my kind of this generosity found in the middle of Central Park, generosity each and every moment that we might find this little dove-like alei zayit haraf befinu. The power of the dove is its willingness to seek out life. The power of the dove. And that even though the raven teaches us resilience, the dove shows us the promise of small victories and new beginnings. In the bigger picture, the message, of course, of the raven and the dove is one we carry with us as we approach moments of uncertainty and change. And certainly this Shabbat is a Shabbat that is a Shabbat before uncertainty and absolute change in the coming days ahead. In times of political division, it's easy to feel as if we're circling the same unresolved issues without any clarity. It's easy to feel as though we're back where we started from. And I know I'm not alone in feeling this weekend some of the feelings I felt in 2016, circling again the same place, looking for ground to stand on. The raven reminds us to hold on to our resilience and commit to showing up and staying engaged even when the results don't align with our highest hopes. And the dove reminds us to look for signs of progress, however minor they might be, and to keep building toward peace and justice, even if it comes in incremental steps. This journey of the raven and the dove is not just about survival and hope, it's about weaving together resilience, peace, grit, and grace. If I might be slightly parochial, two things happened this weekend also. One is that each and every year on Marathon weekend, my wife and I enjoy our anniversary. Well, it was 16 years ago, November 2nd, 2008, a mere couple of days before Barack Obama became the first African-American president in our history. And here, 16 years later, as we approach this weekend and the New York City Marathon, there are two pieces, of course, that are so true in both marriage, life, marathons. The capacity to have resilience, the capacity to keep circling and not giving up, to endure dark moments together, and to look for light and leaves of peace and possibility. We had a member of our community who was in our building, and boys were growing up, Bear probably remembers this, who was a remarkable motivational speaker. His name was Robert Gedalia. And Robert Gedalia, some of you might remember. Anybody remember Robert Gedalia? Some of you, yeah? When you think of Robert Gedalia, it makes me smile. Robert was a Toastmaster. He was a coach. He worked with so many thousands of people to get them to find their voice, to be able to stand up in front of a group and speak from the heart. And I'll never forget him on Marathon Sunday every year. He would stand on Fifth Avenue like this was his life's goal. I have never seen anybody so excited to possibly be the one that helped someone else get to the finish line. He made his way out to the middle of Fifth Avenue, then he would come in when people would yell at him, because he would go to each individual, like, come on. He would run over to them and he'd be like, come on, you can do it. I thought he must have been like, you know, employed by a large group of runners. He was like 9 parts or 7 parts raven and 3 parts dove. Keep going, keep going, keep going. You get into this crouch. Come on, you, come on, you. The Shugana. I know I'm not alone in imagining as a clergy member that next week, irrespective of what takes place, that many of us will need others to say, keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up on the dream. Don't give up on the possibility of a country that is more sane, a country that's back on track. We need the resilience of the orev, of the dove, and we dare not only have resilience because grit is only so powerful because it takes so much energy. We require both grit and grace. We need both of them, will and grace. We need both of those as we go forward. The eyes that see Noach and Chaim, the eyes that see beauty, the eyes that notice that it's possible to change a morning and afternoon one person at a time, even as we look for stable ground and require resilience to go forward. Recent atrocities, floods in Valencia and North Carolina remind us that this story, this myth, has very real implications on the ground for all of us. Showing up for our neighbors, showing up for one another, and being willing to continually send out a signal that might be responded to. It isn't upon us to finish the work. Lo aleinu hamlacha ligmor, v'lo anachnu b'nei chorim libatel mimena. We are not possible. It's not possible. We don't have an obligation, nor is it possible to complete the work in the world, but we are not free from making things happen. Whatever the results of next week's election, whatever it is that you find tomorrow morning or the next day, our responsibility is to build a better, more peaceful world, and that will never end. This work is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And each small act of kindness and cheerleading and holding and supporting each effort towards justice, each vote, and each choice brings us one step closer to a vision of a better world. All of us are part of that larger journey. In this marathon, may God bless us with the raven's resilience and the dove's hopefulness. May we keep running, building, and holding to those small signs of progress, no matter what next week brings. And may we always remember that our work is part of a much larger story that will outlast any obstacle.